Hello, everybody. I'm going to try to put this as simply and eloquently as I can, but this is the realization. This is what got me kind of when I was on the cusp of wondering, is everything by chance in this world, or is there a reason behind it? There's only a few things that really kind of changed my perspective on believing that there maybe is a purpose behind everything. In that regard, that's what I consider God to be, is the driving force behind everything. The purpose, or Dharma, the purpose of everything. And what led me to that was some of the wild realizations about trying to reduce the human body down to its essentials, like the eye, the heart, certain complex organs that cannot function independently without any one of the parts. It's like having a fully built automobile just appear one day without building your way up from scratch. It's one of the things that throws scientists off, why they can't understand how the human eye could be created with so many rods and cones and the cornea and lens and everything in perfect proportion in order to see it. Even if science can prove why or how these things happened out of nothing, that can only be found through searching for a reason for things happening. And if I can express this anyway, I don't deny that evolution happened, but I ask why it happened. And I can't believe that things just keep happening by chance, because life is the default mode of the universe. Life, now we've found, it appears everywhere. It's not a complex thing. When I was a kid, even, they didn't know really how how easily life can form in certain circumstances, and how long it can remain in the most inhospitable environments, whether in the oceans and the deep, deep, deep hydrothermal vents, or in the most cold Antarctic waters, and lay dormant for millions of years. The default mode of life is to survive, and the question is why. And you can't use natural selection, in my opinion, to explain how these things happen, because it gets more complicated when you start looking into other animals. When you look into the way plants and animals evolve, the plant evolves. The plant evolves and eventually evolves leaves, and it evolves to take the maximum from the atmosphere that it can. The animals do the same thing. They evolve to their environment in order to maximize their environment. However, there's no one animal whose, let's say an animal finds a beneficial natural selection. It goes through a change, and a metamorphosis over a period of years, and it finds an advantage. Now, that advantage might help it to perpetuate its species. However, if that advantage is disadvantageous to the other animals, then it won't survive, it won't thrive. And what that shows to me is that animals don't design themselves just to conquer. Otherwise, one animal would have taken over the earth a long time ago. Something's regulating it, like a heartbeat. Nature has a flow. It's a synchronicity of everything, and the way things go in nature is very organized. And there are no one group of animals that take over except humans. And that leads me to the next thing, that the plants, they develop over time, and eventually they make it out onto land, and they start consuming, more and more light. Now, plants have these light receivers that open up and receive this light, and they use the light energy and the photons to break apart water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. It uses the hydrogen to fuel the plant, and the oxygen is a byproduct. Of course, we breathe it. So this light energy becomes sugars it produces, and then we consume the plants. The animal consumes the plant. So what happens over time? The plant develops chemical reactions and chemical defenses and physical defenses to keep those plants and animals, or certain animals and insects, away from it. However, it always allows one insect or one animal to be able to consume it or to harm it in some way, but it develops a symbiotic relationship with that animal. Likewise, some of the saps and some of the poisons that the trees and the plants create, the animals develop their own, natural immunities to those, and their own antibodies to these crazy, poisons. And And not only that, then there's animals out in nature who color themselves just to warn others not to eat them. Why? You know, obviously they don't want to get eaten, but somehow nature knows how to color itself. Nature knows how to create butterflies and moths that look like owls. Okay? Now, I want to understand how natural selection could create a moth that looks like an owl, and just by chance that mutation is able to survive. The considerations run so deep, and from both sides of the fence there are arguments about it, but this is kind of tied into the whole creationism theory, because everyone seems to think that it has to be one or the other. It has to be evolution or creationism, and it doesn't. It could be that there's a driving force that I believe evolution happened. Okay, first off, I believe that people evolved and we are related to chimpanzees. However, I don't know what drove that evolution. I don't know which events and which jumps in our evolutionary history and what they were caused by, whether it was a cosmic wave, alien intervention, all the different theories people have, I do not know. But I know where we are now. So these plants and these animals develop these symbiotic relationships, right? And then plants with themselves and with mushrooms develop a mycorrhizal relationship where they actually feed the mushroom and the mushroom feeds the tree. And they sustain these states of being for long periods of time, and these forests run perfectly until a conscious being or a conscious entity invades, like us. Even if a non-natural species, say we're always trying to get rid of these invasive species now, even if one invasive species makes it onto another continent, it may be detrimental for a while, but everything adjusts. Nature finds a way to balance out, and it also finds a way to make animals and insects and everything look beautiful. Everything functions beautifully, and that just can't be explained away by chance, to me. And this isn't through just an ignorant drive to find an excuse not to think anymore. This is through hours of trying to prove to myself that it can't be true, that everything could be by chance. It just didn't float. So, these plants and these animals that develop these attributes to share with one another, you know, it's such an amazing thing because they're like these perfect matches. I mean, everybody knows what I'm talking about. There are so many different insects and animals that, like walking stick is a perfect example. You know, how does something develop like that? And here's the thing, we talk about this evolutionary history where things are constantly evolving. Well, evolution isn't always to the benefit. Why did humans evolve? This isn't to our benefit to have knowledge. You see what I'm saying? This is where this is going. Humans have evolved to where we are now, and it's to our detriment. We're actually causing problems, and we're going to kill ourselves off. So, nature obviously created it for a reason. But why didn't nature change the crocodile? You know, why is the crocodile the same for millions and millions of years? Same as many small animals, lizards and insects. They're exactly the same as they were millions of years ago. And while other ones just change dramatically all the time, you know, and one could say, well, that's because, you know, they were happy the way they were, you know, but why didn't they change form at all? So what I come to in the end was this just kind of realization that, oh shit, you know, there are just too many complicated things in life, and they're to explain away. And I'm not going to try to say that they were created by a conscious entity, because I don't believe in that kind of a God, but that's all I'm trying to say is that God to me is the Dharma, or the purpose of everything, because nothing, so far, no one's ever been able to explain to me why things evolve. I understand how, and I understand natural selection, but I don't understand why things continue to strive for more. And it just, I'm dumbfounded. Like life just finds a way. It wants to. It has to survive. So that, to me, is the big picture. So, peace.